Welcome everyone. S- uh, Today we'll be talking about a very interesting area, which is one of the main issues that is currently being discussed in HRM, human resource management, as well as in organizational behavior, because it is related to something that we do over a large time of our lifespan. Because I believe that if we are employed, so I guess that we are supposed to work for around 30 odd years during our lives. So, have you ever thought about this thing that is that work only related to getting paid and getting some money to run our life, or should we be looking forward to having some purpose in that as well? I would love to hear your comments and opinions once we go through this presentation. I will be sharing examples of the organizations that how do they uh, uh, evolve in terms of adding meaningfulness to the work. It has got a lot to do with the employee motivation, employee engagement, and all the aspects which we usually discuss in the areas of HRM and organizational behavior. Since we do understand that the main objective of any human resource management department is to make sure that the employees, they stay engaged, they stay connected to their work, and they happily do the work which is required from them. So there are multiple ways and methods that the companies are using to develop that engagement, to continue that motivation. Today we'll be talking about finding purpose. And since we do not have the time to get each and everyone to introduce yourselves, so it would be better if you use the chat box, and you can write down your name, you can write down your occupation. I mean, if you are a student, you can write down student. If you are looking for work, you can write that. If you are already employed and working somewhere, I would love to hear what you are doing, because I would be then asking you targeted questions. I mean, usually the pattern is that the students, they get to ask me a lot of questions, and I'm looking forward to that. But today I want this to be a kind of a discussion. So I would be asking questions from you guys as well. So the first thing that you need to do is use the chat box. You can write down your name, and if you are employed, you can write down what you actually do. So I, as you already know, I am a teacher by profession, and just to get the things moving, let me tell you that being a business graduate, becoming a teacher was like the least option, because in our country, the teachers, they're not really very well paid, and it's not like a very lucrative career. So when I did my business graduation degree, I had options to join many leading corporations in the country. I was blessed that I had the opportunity to go into the interviews. But I used to think about this thing that what do I actually want to do with my life? I mean, do I really want to work in a bank? Do I really want to work with uh, a telecom company, or all the other companies that I was being invited to interview for? And then I thought to myself, then when I came up with an opportunity to start my career as a teacher, as a very young teacher, because at that time I was 26 years old, I guess. So becoming a teacher at the age of 26 was something that I mean, my family and the people around me, they did used to ask me this thing that why have you chosen this as a career? So at that time, I was not very clear regarding the purpose, but since now it's been 2 decades since I am in this track, so I am very happy to say that I have been able to find a purpose in my life. So being a teacher gives me a lot of purpose, and the paycheck, although the paychecks of the teachers are not very high in our part of the world, but the paychecks, they become secondary, and the purpose, what we are doing, what I'm doing, it becomes primary. So I would want to ask the same question from you people, if you have chosen to join any career. And during the presentation, we would get to know that what the leading organizations in the world globally, what they are doing in order to make sure that the employees, they find this purpose and they find meaning in this work. So before we proceed, let me have a quick look at the chat box. All right, thank you. Most of you are sharing what you are already doing. We have all right, CEOs of organization. We have a business analyst. Really wonderful. Okay, so during the presentation, I would be asking you some questions, some things, and I would want that you respond to it in the chat box. And at the end, I would love to hear your comments and opinions. So, since I've already mentioned to you that work or career is not only about raising a paycheck and getting money, there needs to be a meaning attached to it. Uh, the question is that if you're already employed, if you're already doing something, are you able to find that meaningful in your work, that meaning in your work or not? Why is it important that the purpose matters in the workplace? This is going to be one of the leading questions that we will try to address. That why is it important to have a purpose while working? Why is a paycheck not good enough? Why do we need to have a purpose? And what has it got to do with HRM, OB, and employee motivation? Since I've already told you that we do understand that motivated employees, engaged employees, they perform better for the organization. Uh, it would be very difficult for any organization to keep a constant eye on the employees, that whether they are working or not. An ideal employee would be an engaged employee, that they do not require any kind of external reinforcement, and they would want to work on their own and try to achieve highs in terms of improving the overall performance of not only themselves but for the organization as well. So let us compare that what is the traditional versus modern work expectations. I mean, to be very clear, traditionally, it is very obvious, and like the typical idea behind work is to get paid. So traditionally, it was all largely about the paychecks. But there has been a significant change, a shift in terms of but if you remember that in our previous session we did talk about the generational shifts. We talked about millennials. We talked about generation Z, generation Alpha. Now their priorities are changing. Now currently, the people who are studying, who are in the age of 20 or 25 years old, who are to be the workplace of the future, their priorities are different as compared to ours. I mean, I'm not saying that their priority is not money, but being a different generation, they look forward to having more aspects rather than just money. I mean, like personal fulfillment is something that they crave for. Value system is something that they crave for. Ethical standards, ethical practices of the organizations is something that this new generation appeals to. Sustainability is one of the other factors that relates to the meaningfulness of the work. It doesn't mean that it is something like really philosophical and it is something very abstract. It has got a lot to do with what the organizations are currently doing in terms of making this world a better place or in terms of aligning with your core values. Now, let me share an example with you. Before the start of this session, I was talking to Dr. Lambert. I mean, you may have heard our conversation, but I did mention that there is a water shortage in our country at the moment. And I was going through a report which mentioned that the leading uh, drinks companies in Pakistan, I mean, the top giants in the world who are producing refreshing drinks, they consume the most of the water which is in the land just to produce something which is of entertainment purpose. So we we are able to determine this thing in our mind, that what is the trade-off. I mean, if you are making the country scarce in terms of its leading resource, which is water, and you are ultimately converting that water into a bubbly drink, which is just for a refreshment purpose, and it's not like really making this world a better place. So, if you are working in such an organization, what would be your ethical challenge, or what would you be thinking that it is somehow aligned to your personal core values or not? Similarly, if I tell you my example, I'm not sure of how much you would be able to relate to it, but uh, when I did my business graduation, the first job that I was offered was at a tobacco company. I mean, At that time in Pakistan, the tobacco companies were the highest uh, paying companies. I mean, they offered jobs with highest salaries and paychecks. You know, when I got the job offer, I was pretty happy to get the job offer, to be very honest. But I did ask myself this question that do I really want to be associated with an organization, with a company which runs its business over generating tobacco and selling it? So I won't say that that was the clear argument in my mind at that time, and I'm a clear advocate of like no smoking. But there was an ethical challenge. There was an ethical question in my mind that do I really want to join an organization which is not making this world a better place? Uh, this is just my opinion. So I do want to communicate this thing that our values, what we prefer, what we value, what we cherish, what we look for, it needs to have a connection with our career options. I do understand that the career options in the market, they may be limited because it's not always very critical or important that you are able to find a job that resonates with your passion. But what if you have an option? All right. There is a very interesting debate, and I would want to hear the comment from Dr. Lambert as well during the session or afterwards, even that as teachers, we do give the advice to the students that follow your passion. I mean, whatever you want to do, if you want to make this world a better place, because you know, when we are young, we are like, we are, I'm sure all of you are young, but when we are young, we really want to do wonders. We really want to do things which would make this world a better place. But most of us, we do end up running our lives in typical careers and typical jobs. And we lose that kind of our touch that whether this work that we are doing, is it making this world a better place? Is it aligning with our core values? Is it resonating with what we really wanted to do with our lives? Because we spend a lot of time in our careers. I mean, 8 hours a day, 48 hours or 40 odd hours a week, and doing it for like 20, 25 years or 30 years, that is a lot of time. So, if at the end of that time, if you're not able to find value, if you're not able to understand that what was your purpose, then there is a question mark. So, the organizations are doing, in terms of HR and OB, the organizations are doing a lot in terms of, for example, companies like Salesforce, they integrate social responsibility into their culture while having a sense of a charity and social obligation in doing any work. So the employees which are working in that organization, they do understand that the work we are doing, it is making the world a better place as well. We did talk about CSR in our one of the earlier sessions that we had, corporate social responsibility. So most of the organizations, they do invest time and effort into keep giving up that impression or image that we have a social obligation to make this world a better place. Now, this is not the question that whether they are actually doing it or it is just a marketing gimmick. But the thing is that the employees who are working in the organization, they feel that if we are doing some, if our organization is doing some kind of a charity, we are making this world a better place. If we are donating to a certain cause, maybe removing poverty or provision of water resources. I mean, water is on my mind because of the rain. So all these opportunities, all these things that the organizations they do in order to give the employee an impression that it's not only about making money or being a corporate, having a corporate mindset. It has got a lot to do with making this world a better place as well. All right. So I'll have there are so many messages in the chat box waiting to be seen. Just allow me to have a quick look at that. All right. Welcome, everyone. Just allow me to have a quick look at the messages. Okay. So you work for an electricity company, research assistant, full-time student, human resource personnel. Oh, wonderful. So we have so many professionals who are here in the session today. So I would love to hear your and read your comments. Uh, your opinion, it matters when once you write something in the comment box, everyone else is not only listening to me, They are generating their own ideas and they are reading through the chat boxes as well. So it's like a whole combination of different opinions coming up, and we can all like talk about it at the end of our session. Okay. So organizational behavior, since we are talking about having purpose in the work, so we will be focusing on, we are already focusing on the role of organizational behavior. You know, organizational behavior is got a lot to do with the employee motivation and theories. I'm sure that you guys have some idea regarding Maslow's need hierarchy because I'll be referring to it. If you don't, still, let me tell you that this is a theory which defines that what motivates people. Now, this question, that what motivates people, is one of the main arguments or one of the main puzzles for the HR and OB department to solve. Human resource management people, they want to resolve this thing, that how can we actually motivate our employees to do better. So there are certain theories which have been developed. Maslow's need hierarchy theory focuses on the certain needs that the employees or the people have over the period of time. Uh, I would suggest that you may have a look at it later on after the session, Maslow's need hierarchy. It starts with physiological needs, then there are safety needs, and it is a hierarchy. Then there are social needs, then there are self-esteem needs, and at the end there is self-actualization need. The argument is that most of us, firstly, we do want our physiological needs to be fulfilled. Obviously, by physiological needs, we mean that the air, the water, the food that we intake, we need to have that. If we don't have it, obviously we cannot travel to the next layer of the need that is coming. The next layer is safety need. We need to be in a safe and protected environment. Then we need to be connected with people. We need to have loved ones around us. We need to have a social contact which fulfills our social need. Once we are done with that, we want to be recognized in the society by being someone. I mean, I want to be recognized as a teacher. I want to be recognized as a father. I have a social standing. And then at the end, we have self actualization. What is this self actualization? This is the true understanding or meaningfulness or the purpose that you derive from your life. I believe that those people would be very lucky who consider, I mean, most of you have already written what you do as a career. Some people are working in an electrical company, some people are working as HR manager. One of you is a CEO of a school system, really inspiring, by the way. So my question to all of you is that, are you able to find the meaning and purpose in your work? Do you find your work purposeful or meaningful? Do you think that this work is providing you with an opportunity to live a fulfilling life? I mean, you are telling yourself that you are proud to be working in a certain sector or in a certain environment. Now, please be clear about it that there are two aspects to it. One is the type of work, and other is the purpose that you are able to derive from it. Uh, while working in a bank, you may not be making this world a much better place because there is no social aspect to it, generally speaking. But if your bank is providing employment opportunities, is it doing any CSR activities, or is it an organization that is trying to make this world a better place? Maybe that can be a connection that you are able to find. All right. Then I would want all of you to please have a look at Herzberg's two-factor theory. I'm not going into the details of these theories because they are a topic in themselves, a detailed topic. But just to give you an idea, Herzberg was another social scientist who basically studied that what motivates people. Uh, the two factors that Herzberg highlights is, one of them is hygiene factors and the others are motivators. Now, let me ask you another question. I mean, if you are working in a job and you have a very good office, you have, if you are in summers, you have air conditioning, your seat is very comfortable, the office decor, the table and the computer and the internet, they are really wonderful. They are really top notch, state of the art. So do you think that it is good enough for you to stay motivated? Is this what you want from a job? is this going to be a good enough thing for you, that you have a very good office, you have all the basic facilities at your work? Do you think you will be motivated to do your work? Most of you would respond that yes. And obviously, I do understand that these are the basic facilities that you need. But Herzberg mentions that motivation does not come from high speed internet or from chair or tables or from the air conditioning. These are very much important, but these are called as hygiene factors. Their presence does not necessarily motivate you, but their absence is going to demotivate you. If you do not have a comfy chair, if you do not have a good office space, if you do not have access to internet, if the air condition is not running, it will definitely demotivate you. But it does not motivate you. So what is the thing that motivates you? So then he talks about the second factor, which are the motivators. And
It appears as the connection for Umar Hassan has frozen. So we just have to be patient. I am not able to pause the recording, so we just have to be patient here and wait for him to come back. So yeah, it's great to read everybody's comments down below in chat. You all have very different experiences, different work. You live in different places. And so you get a sense of, like, here's one comment from Fideli in Uganda. Working hard as a refugee-led organization, do field work and leadership to strengthen and build individuals and groups. Yeah, you know, what is like, what could be the most difficult type of life you could think of? Be a refugee. You don't have that safety, you don't have that security, you don't know where your job is, you don't know where your community is. You're a refugee. Where are you going to be? How are you going to get settled into a safe, productive life again? And so people who are helping the refugees have a very high purpose in life
true.
because there's so many issues you have to solve. Okay, Dr. Umar Hassan, you're ready to go.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh, are you there again? Are you there? Where Umar Hassan lives, they're having a lot of rain. So that usually means unstable internet. So it makes sense that he's having some unstable issues with the internet today because they're getting a lot of rain. They've had rain for the past week. So we just have to be patient. But let's go on with this idea of purpose beyond the paycheck, right? The paycheck gives you the money to live. But what is life? You know, what is the story of your life? And I think this is the point that he's bringing home for us, is you want your life to have meaning, but it has to be productive. So it has to be valued. And somebody with money has to be able to pay for your services or pay for your products or whatever you're offering to society. It has to have value, monetary value, but it also has to have a social value. Probably, you know, when he's talking about the Maslow hierarchy, if ultimately you can get a spiritual value for your work, then you can be happy. You can be very happy. I'd love to hear, I don't see any comments in chat. I'm looking for comments in chat on this. You know, I see the last comment here from Wole. Peak performance at work depends so much on enabling environment, values, and passion. So yeah, that's the idea here, is that when you have that spiritual life connection, you feel like you are living. When you're at work, you feel like you are living, not just sort of like a robot, just doing what you need to do because someone else is making you do it, but you're not really able to think and be creative. You're just going through the motions, and you're not really living. You're not really developing. You're not really taking care of your spiritual development, let's say. And so, but when you are spiritually involved in your work and you feel that sense of accomplishment, that people's lives are getting better, the quality of their lives is getting better, the spiritual quality of their lives, they're happier, and they have that inner sense of strength, that spiritual strength and peace, and they're motivated. And yeah, the world is difficult, the world is hard. Doing spiritual work is not easy. It's certainly not easy, but it adds that sense of life. It adds that sense of love to your work. And that's really where we want you all to be. We want you to have jobs, and we want you to develop a sense of what makes a sustainable world, that sense of community, that solidarity, and working on things to actually make the world a better place. Oh, here we go, Hyacinth. Truly, cost of living has been going up so much. We're basically working now just to pay bills. Right. I'm not a big supporter of capitalism. I don't think it's the best type of economic system. To me, the best type. Oh, Umar Hassan, are you here? I'm looking for you. I see you. Ah, you are here. Let me make you a co-host again. Oh, I didn't realize you had returned. But, just to finish that one thought, I think the best economic system is like cooperatives, where people come together and they form a membership in a community, and they're all working together and sharing in the profits more or less equally. So to me, that makes for a really wonderful sense of community when you're working through a cooperative. But they're hard to do. They're hard to maintain. Yeah, people have to be mature, and they have to understand what they're doing, and they have to be willing to give and take and share. And so the world has a lot of growing up to do. Umar Hussan, are you back? I don't see you again. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm
There you
here.
are.
Sorry, we had a power outage. I really apologize. I mean, this weather. I mean, we're just in a lot of trouble at the moment. But I'm really sorry. Everybody had to wait. I had a power outage, and please, it can happen again. But do bear with me. I hope it doesn't happen, but it can. So I really apologize for that. All right. Uh,
Okay, I tried to
so
fill in for you there. I think you're ready to go.
yeah, I was hearing your thoughts about capitalism, and I do agree that. But at the end of the day, the world it runs on money. I mean, but the thing is that in an ideal world, it should be more than money. I mean, money should be like uh, something that we need, but not something that we truly live for. I mean, there must be much more to it. So I was talking about Herzberg's two-factor theory, and I did mention that the work it needs to have the opportunity to grow, some challenge that one looks forward to, and meaningfulness and purpose. And most organizations, like Google, like Zappos, they're actually doing it in order to make sure that uh, the employees are able to find true value in their work. We'll come to some examples later on. All right. So, what can HRM do in order to have a purpose driven work? As I did mention that the main aspect of HRM department, one of the main functions that it does is to basically hire people get them on board. So we need the organizations need to make sure that the people that they are getting on board, they are their values and the organizational values, they are aligned equally. Uh, that is why the organizations, the top companies currently, they are working a lot on determining their brand. We have already discussed employer branding in one of our earlier sessions. So in employer branding, the organizations, they try very hard, in fact, to develop an image, an impression of an organization that the most appropriate talent, that the most, I would say, uh, most eligible talent available in the marketplace would love to work for that organization. So they make an appeal to that talent that they are able to join. But what is the aspect in employer branding? Like companies, they offer a kind of a culture, an environment in which they encourage the employees that it is going to be beyond money as well. Acha, this has got a lot to do with a combination of money as well. Like we have talked about this thing a lot, but I love sharing this example that Google gives the employees all the facilities that it can offer at a workplace. Like it has a college campus like environment in which you have cafeterias, in which you have sports areas, in which you have meeting rooms, and you can talk to other people who are equally or more talented than you, and you can share ideas. You're working for Google, but you at the same time you can work on your own projects as well. Like the company offers incentives to people working on their own projects. Now you know that it would be a very different thought, because if an organization provides you with a laptop, if they provide you with internet, if they provide you with resources, they would obviously think that you're only supposed to use those resources for the company's work. But try to go beyond that for a while. I mean, companies like Google, they want that people can use those resources, people can use those networks, people can use those opportunities to build something of their own as well. And Google will contribute towards it. It would, the products like Gmail, the products like Android, YouTube, all of these products are individual projects made by people who were working in the Google. And once the Google realized that these products are really something worth investing in, they offer the employees a 50-50 percentage or a 70-30 ratio. The Google takes that product on board and it spreads it, and the employee becomes a regular partner in terms of getting the money. So this is another way of looking at it, that if you really want to do something, the companies will provide, the company for which you are working as an employee, they'll provide you with a platform to showcase your skill set and to build upon that. Similarly, HRM can also play a role in terms of leadership, where it can foster intrinsic motivation, employee engagement, and well-being programs. I mean, the work, the focus is that the nature of work is evolving, it is changing. It's not only about coming to work, spending your hours, getting paid, and going back home. It is becoming a kind of a lifestyle. I mean, the companies but doing small steps. I mean, bring your kid to work day, bring your pets to work day, or having birthdays, having celebrations, having activities. I mean, small things, building a sense of community, building a sense of family, so that people, they find true value in the work that they are doing. Companies like Southwest Airlines, companies like Zappos, companies like Deloitte, they are trying their level best to make sure that the employees find a new life while they are working in that. So the money, it like goes in the background. The money and all the benefits, they go in the background. And another example of a company which is very famous for in terms of its purpose-driven mission is Patagonia. It is like a sportswear or outdoor kind of a company which offers outdoor gears and equipment. So their idea is to make this world a better place, and their main, one of the main aspects on which they are running their business is environmental activism. So this company is actually trying to make the environment of the world better. Uh, Now, they would want to have the people joining the organization who share the same value, who also believe in environmental protection. I mean, now this is one question that comes to my mind as well. Since I'm living in a developing country, so I guess I mean, some of you will be able to relate to this thing. Uh, Garbage, garbage disposal is one of the leading issues in our countries, and since it is raining outside, so I do understand that there is going to be blockage on the road. There is going to be so much waste which is going to stop the flow of the water. And when you look at that waste, most of the items are there from these companies like Lay's, which are offering chips and snacks, and all those wrappers and everything else is there, and it is blocking the flow of water. So I do wonder, and I do ask, that whoever is producing this product and is selling in the market, has he or she been able to think about the price, the cost that the environment is paying for that product? Is anyone in the organization actually thinking that this product that we are producing, is it making this world a better place, or is it causing a harm to the environment? Same goes for the companies like PepsiCo, like Coca-Cola, that they are like taking the water from the land. They're using a natural resource and converting it into their profitability. So is anyone actually thinking about it? Is anyone actually caring about it? So once the companies they start caring, once the companies they start talking about these things, the value and the purpose and the meaningfulness, it starts coming. So it's like a combination of HR practices. It's like a combination of doing CSR activities. It is about finding ways to do something that has a true sense of purpose, meaning. Uh, Same goes for the company Google, and I've already shared the example that uh, it, in terms of its culture, it spreads a message that let's improve the world. Let's make this world a better place. Now, this in itself is a statement that clearly shares and informs that whatever they are trying to do, I'm not saying that whether they are actually doing it or not, but the idea behind that is that by our innovation, by our technology, by our collaborative efforts, by our expertise that we are going to use that to improve the world. Obviously, in a technological way, in a way that most people would find benefit in terms of using their products, maybe. I do want to ask this question, and I was talking to one of my friends today in the university, and I said that the one person comes up with an idea to launch a product, and if that product gets access to all the people all over the world, it really shapes the world into something new. And at the end of the day, it is just a business entity. I mean, just like Facebook, Instagram, and all the social media tools. I mean, basically, Meta company is making profits out of it. But uh, has anyone ever thought about this thing, that what is the lasting impact of these apps, these mediums on the overall shaping of the world, of the culture? We were talking about something, that there were some things that we used to talk about with our friend circle only. There were few jokes that we used to do with our friend circles only. Now on Instagram, on Facebook, all that content is available for everyone to see. I mean, obviously the downside of thing, it definitely has a lot of upsides as well. But the question is that, does anyone really think about this thing, that our product, our business, is it going to make this world a better place? So in terms of HR, it focuses, companies like Google, they focus a lot on provision of autonomy, independence, career development, and psychological safety to the employees. And I did mention this thing earlier, that they allow the employees to use that time to do their own creative projects, which can be further used or taken up by the organization. Similarly, when it comes to finding purposefulness in work, we in the last 5 or 10 years, we have seen this thing evolving. That, I mean, money is going in the background, and people are now actually thinking about their mental health, their well-being. And I think that COVID, one of the best things, I mean, the time period of COVID is not something that can be related as anything good. But I believe as an HR, as a student of HR, I believe that one of the best things that we were able to get or to able to learn from that COVID time period is uh, the focus on well-being of employees. That uh, people who are actually facing a threat in terms of getting infected by a virus. Now, the companies are actually thinking that whether you would want to work to come to work or whether you would be working from home. Do we have the facilities? Do we have the equipment that you can use while working from home? And what about your psychological health? What about your physical health? What about your mental health? Now, these questions, I believe, uh, they give up some kind of purposefulness and meaning into the work because it's not only about spending hours and getting paid. People have their needs. They go through different things in their lives. So the question is that should organizations be thinking about the different variations in the mental health or mood of the employees or what is happening in their personal life, or should it be focusing on only on work, and should it be focusing only on the fact that whoever works stays, survival of the fittest, whoever works stays, and the people who are facing some issue they can like sort it out on their own. But the COVID-19 experience, it did tell everyone, all the companies, that you need to care for employee mental health, their well-being. I mean, work is going to continue. The whole world was like at a pause during the time of COVID. I'm sure that most of you experienced the same, that in lockdowns and during the COVID time period, everything was like at a freeze, everything was paused, and everything continued afterwards when things started getting normalized. Everything continued. But there is something that we learned. We learned that human life is much more important than any work. So, well being, our mental health, physical health is much more important than anything that goes on. Now, companies like Unilever, they offer agile working models, they offer flexible timings, flexible work arrangements so that employees, they do not feel over pressured, and that is how it somehow contributes towards reducing the turnover, and employees, they want to stay in that organization because they know that the organization cares for us. This element of care, help, support, it also provides some kind of meaningful and purposefulness in work. Since our focus is on how HR and OB can contribute towards this meaningfulness, so I would be focusing less on the individual needs and the more on the professional aspect of what the organizations can do. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is another factor that supports, encourages, and promotes the purposefulness, because it is about giving opportunities to people from different parts of the world, from different genders, from different ethnic backgrounds, and providing them with certain opportunity. It creates a wonderful gesture from the organization. Now, the organization which who take diversity and inclusion as a factor, and it promotes it uh, through its employer branding, in its culture, in its promotion. So it gives an image to the people that we actually care for people coming from all different backgrounds. And diversity is a wonderful thing. Now, there was a time when diversity was seen as a challenge rather than an opportunity. But big companies now, they see diversity as a huge opportunity because it not only promotes their impression as a company that cares, but it also helps them to find variety of ideas, variety of inputs, people coming from different experiences, backgrounds, and coming from different areas. They bring diversity, and this whole idea supports the logic of this world being a global village and people coming from all parts of the world. So companies like Microsoft, Accenture, they focus a lot on diversity, equity, and inclusion aspect. We have already talked about this in one of our previous lectures. So the role of HR is to make sure that there is a sense of belongingness, There is a sense of inclusivity, and people are able to find the purpose through it. When it comes to leadership, since leadership is also related to HR and its practices, so it is really important for the leaders. Just allow me to. Okay. It is very important for the leaders to make sure that the message that they are communicating, the organizational vision that they are communicating, it is making the employees better as well. Now, transformational leadership, we talk about Steve Jobs, we talk about Indra Nooyi, we talk about uh, many other CEOs of, and I'm sure that the CEO that we have today in our session would also like to reflect upon this thing, that the transformational leadership helps the people do better in their work, because it provides them with an opportunity to think beyond the obvious and try to find meaningfulness and purpose, and try to be more innovative, try to be more engaged, staying more committed, and trying to find new things, trying to find more purpose, more meaning in what they are trying to do. Now, one of the important things that PepsiCo CEO did was to shift the culture of the organization from competition to learning and growth. I mean, we do encourage in an environment, the CEOs, they encourage in an organizational environment that there should be a sense of competition, but why not convert it into a sense of learning and growth? I mean, we can learn from each other as well. Now, this is a small transformation, but it impacts the organizational culture and how things are being done in a very wonderful way. Organizational politics is something that is very common and very, like, I mean, all of us, we want to talk about it within our corner meetings and in our offices. We do want to talk about the organizational politics and what is happening. Why not convert this conversation into something that is actually making the organization a better place to work? Why not convert this into a kind of a meeting where actually people can talk about what they don't like and how things can be better? I believe that, I believe that in typical organizations, one of the leading issue is that people, they don't talk about the problems on appropriate forums. They do talk about the problems in corner meetings. They do talk about them in the cafes or on the telephone calls, but they don't talk about it in the appropriate forums in the meetings. And most of the times, those opinions are not taken very positively. Even if someone is courageous enough, is brave enough, or is considerate enough, is aware of the fact that this should be shared, sometimes it is not very well acknowledged by the CEO. So I think that the leadership role is very critical when it comes to driving the purposefulness or driving the change within the organization, because they need to be very open minded about what is coming from the employees and how we can make things better. So similarly, another aspect of HRM is performance management. So how can you derive purpose in performance management? Uh, KPI, key performance indicators, can be related to more meaningful and impactful work. For example, the company Salesforce offers a V2MOM framework: vision, value, methods, obstacles, and measures. I mean, this is a very interesting framework in terms of performance management, because it's not only evaluating the performance of the employees, it is also asking them to help their systems improve, learn from them. And when an organization has a learning mindset, it communicates this message to all the employees, and all of them are willing to share their experiences, willing to share their obstacles, willing to share what their possible solutions are, so that everyone can learn from it. Another example of a company which can be considered as a purposeful company is Airbnb, which is stating, obviously its business mission is to belong anywhere. I mean, it's a global company encouraging people to give out their extra space for rentals. And their philosophy is not only reflected in their business, but in terms of their organizational and HR practices as well, where they are offering employee volunteer programs, where employees can volunteer for certain society betterment related initiatives, and the company, it encourages them to be a part of that. It also focuses a lot on purpose-driven leadership training. Employee engagement is one of the leading priorities on which the organization would want to work. Now, what is the future of purpose-driven workplaces? I mean, uh, regardless of the type of business that the organization is doing, they would want to focus into areas including environmental concerns, social issues, and governance related factors into HR. I mean, uh, similarly, work life balance is something that needs to be worked on. In the start, I did mention that the generational change, the over the period of time, the different generations have different needs. We did talk about this in detail in our previous session. So, based upon their needs, the trends of HR are also evolving and changing. So, people nowadays, the employees, the workplace of the future is more concerned about things which are apart from money. They are more concerned about making this world a better place regarding the environment, regarding the regarding even health concerns as well. I would want to hear from you as well in the chat box that what are you most concerned about? If money is out of the picture for a while, what do you expect from your job or from your organization? It can be a one word, it can be a sentence. Feel free to write. Now, these younger generations prioritize purpose more over pay. This is one of the reasons why we are even talking about it, because purposefulness is now becoming one of the leading factors. You, I'm not saying that the previous generation is somewhat less than the current generation, but since this is an evolution, our generation, when we were students, when I was student, so not we, when I was a student, I did not have access to the internet. Chat GPT was not there, AI was not there, obviously. So we our learning curve was a bit more steep as compared to the young generation now. The more exposure you have is supposed to give you more meaning, idea of more meaningfulness rather than uh, just looking for the obvious and just trying to find the work. So, what are the key takeaways of today's session? I mean, we did talk about few things, and I hope that you would be able to resonate with it. And since most of you are employed, so I would love to hear from you. Do you find purpose as a driver of you being connected with your work? Whatever you are doing, are you able to find any purpose? Is it making you more engaged, more committed to your work? Is your organization providing you with ample opportunities and an environment in which you would want to strive more and you would want to stay committed and stay engaged? When you come home after a long day shift, do you believe that you have actually done something valuable in terms of your personal values? Or do you actually think that it is just like I, I was I was waiting to get paid, and these are 8 hours are just like a transaction that I spend that time doing something and then I get paid. So I would want to hear that from you when we are about to close that session. Uh, the role of HRM is very critical in terms of determining that employee motivation, employee engagement, and employee commitment is something that needs to be focused. And it can, I mean, money is going to be like a 10 or 20% thing. The remaining 80% of the things that include challenging work, organizational culture, provision of an environment where ideas flourish, uh, removing toxicity, removing organizational politics, focusing more on togetherness, on a sense of belongingness, on collective growth, on making the world a better place, on offering individuals with an opportunity to do better and to create a meaning to what they are actually doing. Now, these all the examples that I shared and the different companies and the different motivational theories that are reflected on, you can actually have a look in detail and you will find that but the most important learning would be coming from you as an individual, that how do you see your work in terms of purposefulness and meaningful. uh, there are things that we can ponder upon later, that how can HR leaders integrate purpose in the organization. I've already mentioned that there are so many things that they can do. So the conclusion is that a paycheck, it sustains life, and it is important. I mean, we are not supposed to spend our life being a voluntary worker. A paycheck helps us sustain life, but purpose it what makes it worth living. So if you're able to find purpose in your work, if you think that whatever you are meant to do, if you are able to find that in your work, then you are a committed and an engaged employee. But if not, there are many things that your organization or your company would want to do. And in terms of HR, we have discussed most